Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, the South African Wanderer, and today I was just trying to find some cheap accommodation for the long weekend. It's the Youth Day long weekend here in South Africa, but I'm not coming up with anything. So I wanted to quickly talk about how you can still get out to the bush even with budgets tightening and everything increasing in price. So I was out yesterday filling fuel, and it now cost me, I think, 1,500 Rand to get my tank to full from empty, and even food price is going up. So, day-to-day expenses are just going up and up, and it's difficult to even justify going out. But maybe I can give you a few ideas and options that you can use when you want to get out into the bush that will still allow you to get out into the bush and enjoy the South African wilderness. So let me put this away quickly. So July in South Africa is widely considered the best month for safaris and being out in the wilderness because the grass is all shorter, and you can see the big game much better. I think personally, I prefer the summer months because there's more bird life and there's more migratory birds that come in. And with the recent war in Russia and the world being in a state of turmoil, oil prices have shot up dramatically. We are paying close to 24 Rand per litre here in South Africa. So considering any trips away to any of the national parks with like the south of Kruger being 400 kilometers one-way drive, it's going to cost you, just an arm and a leg just to get there. And you don't want your accommodation options to be crippling over and above that. So I wanted to give 2 or 3 options on how you can save on the accommodation in particular, and hopefully that will help you still get out on your budget, no matter what your budget is. So the first tip, I think, for me, and probably the most budget accommodation that you can get, is to take your accommodation with you. By that I mean getting a camping tent and booking a campsite, and then roughing it a little bit and camping using the communal kitchen and the communal bathrooms. It's a little less glamorous, of course, sleeping in a tent or on an airbed, but your typical campsite, for instance, in Kruger will cost you $390, and you can take up to 6 people per site without any additional charges. And then the additional charges are minimal, over and above that per night. So for $400, you can have, accommodation for 6 people, just with the upfront cost of the tent and air mattresses, probably a heater for the winter, and some camp stools, and a little bit of a gas stove for cooking your food on. So your almost bottom rung of accommodation is going to be camping, but you still get out into the bush, and you up early and out, and you're still seeing the same animals that someone staying in much more expensive accommodation in these national parks would be paying. And yes, that's not for everybody. I know there are friends of mine who say they will not camp, so there are other options. Then of course, if you don't want to take your own tent across and have the schlep of putting it up and taking it down, a number of the South African parks will offer what they call tented camps. So these are, I think, army surplus tents that they've erected and are up permanently, and either sleep 2 or 4, sometimes with the fridge, and sometimes even with, ablution facilities attached to it. And they range from, $700 to $900 per night, depending on how many people are sleeping in it. But you're still sleeping in a tent, so it's a little bit more affordable without the hassle of carting all of your tenting stuff across. A little bit more secure, I would say, as well. But I've stayed in like the Tambuti camp, which is a tented camp, and I had the nighttime temperature drop to, I think, 4 degrees, and it was still bitterly cold. So be prepared and take along your sleeping bag or extra blankets with you as well. I think then you can start to consider things like the bungalows or chalets that are at every camp in Kruger and in most of the other national parks as well. When it comes to the Kruger accommodation, I think a BD2 unit, which sleeps 2 people, will cost you about $1,500 per night, depending on your camp. So, some of the more popular camps would be a little bit more pricey. And if they've been upgraded recently or, a little bit more modern, they could cost you up to about 1,700 Rand. And, that's 2 people sleeping in it for what, 750 per night. So that generally has, a bathroom and shower in the unit, so you're not sharing communal facilities anymore. And it's a little bit more comfortable than, sleeping in a tented camp, for instance. So, if you are looking at the national parks, I think that's about the range of the accommodations you would get. There are some, private concessions and stuff on the parks that I will talk about a little bit later. If you do book with the national parks and most private game reserves as well, just bear in mind that they will have community surcharges and conservation fees that they add on a daily basis. And these can get a bit much depending on where you're staying. So, it can get up to like 150 Rand per night per person. With the Kruger and other national parks, one thing to consider is a Wildcard, where I think you pay 600 or 700 Rand, and if you're staying anything more than 6 days, you pay back the cost of that card effectively. I think the conservation fees in Kruger are about 110 Rand per day. So it's something to bear in mind if you are going for a long stay, or if you want to make multiple trips in a year. That 600 Rand for the wild card will save you money in the long run. One thing to remember when you are booking with the national parks through Sand Parks, the cost of the accommodation does not include things like your game drives and the conservation fees that I mentioned. So depending on what time of the day you go on the game drives, you're going to have to budget a little bit more if you go with the ranges. But like the Kruger or Kalahari or any of the national parks for that instance, you can self-drive and be very successful in tracking down the animals or birds that you're looking for. So it's just petrol that you're budgeting for and not the cost of a drive. I think the game drives when we went in February can vary from about 270 for a night drive to about 360 for a afternoon sunset drive, which is 3 hours compared to the 2 hours on the night drive. So just keep that on your budget. Then I think if you've got a little bit more budget, if you're looking for a little bit more of a luxury experience, you must then start to consider, some of these private game reserves. And as South African citizens, there's a couple ways to almost get massive discounts on these. So I personally have signed up for multiple newsletters from the different reserves like Madikwe, Wildcard, which is out in the Waterberg, and then the guys who run the Pilanesberg resorts itself. And from time to time, they will send you midweek specials, which are 30 or 40% lower than their Thursday to Sunday rates. And then they also send what they call last-minute deals, or deals for people who are able to travel within 14 days or 7 days even, that save you up to 50 or 60% of the cost. So if you think about, let's say Madikwe, for instance, where the normal rates can get up to about 6,000 Rand per person per night. If you're getting 50% off, the second person is basically staying free. So you can get deals for between 2,700 to 2,900 Rand per person per night for what is truly a luxury stay. And this will include 2 game drives a day, full lodging, and when you take into account all of the things it includes, it does represent good value. The other website that I use, and I was just checking on my laptop, is called Bushscapes, which I've been using for more than 10 years now. They are an agent who collects all these specials that the individual lodges that fall under their umbrella are offering, and they present it to you in one website that's quite well set up, and you can easily find something within your budget and your travel allowance as well. So I'm in Gauteng, and if I look for escapes within 4 hours of Gauteng, for instance, that's one of the categories that they have. They can give me something in Nambiti or in Madikwe or Pilanesberg or Wildcard as well. They again also offer these last-minute deals for South African or SADC's members. So if you are able to travel on a very short notice, you can save 50 to 60% of the cost of some luxury lodges. So I think I've used Bushscapes to book Kapama a few times, and I think they've got a lot of the private game reserves that are in and around the Kruger or are in concessions within the Kruger Park itself. And if you have that flexibility to travel last minute, then it represents a great option to actually get out into the bush and into a very luxury accommodation at a fraction of the cost. If you are a photographer like me and you want to do photographic safaris, there are quite a few lodges who offer it, and for most of the year it's very inaccessible to South Africans. So think about Zimanga, for instance, or Tiger Canyon in the Free State, where in their peak seasons they are selling to dollar-based tourists, and it makes it very expensive for South Africans to actually get in. But in the off-season, some of these lodges do offer quite significant discounts. And Zimanga, I know, for instance, offers quite good rates in the KZN wet season, where the likelihood of rain is a little bit higher, and therefore it can deter foreign tourists from coming in. So if you can travel as a South African in, let's say, I think it would be about November to January, February, thereabouts, they do offer, discounted rates through third-party photographic guides and people who run tours and book out the whole lodge. So you can get in, like for Zimanga, you can get in at almost 50% the normal rate that they offer. So you can experience that photographic safari for a few days, or if it's within your budget, you can extend your stay because you're getting a better rate and therefore spend more time in the hides that they offer. I think the last point to mention when you are trying to save some money on accommodation in the bush is the use of travel agents. Generally, travel agents are, taking their cut on the accommodation, and they're going to charge you a little bit of, of a fee to get you into the lodges that they are recommending. So if you can do it yourself, most times you will get a better rate if you go directly to the lodges, or like if you go directly to the Sandparks website. However, there are occasions where agents would block book, for instance, and if for whatever reason they cannot fill those block bookings, they do offer, some of their commission back to you as a discount. So when it comes to the use of, travel agents or third parties to help you book, I would say, make sure you understand what you would pay if you were booking it yourself. And then if they are offering a discounted price, or in some instances, they will offer bookings in times that you would not be able to get yourself because they've block booked accommodation, then I would say, consider the travel agent, and if it makes sense, go for it. So yeah, in these times of ever increasing fuel costs and when travel is almost back of mind, I hope these quick tips actually help you get out and experience the South African bush. So I'll link all the things I've mentioned, the Sandparks website, Bushscapes, in the description below, and you can go through and book your holidays yourself. If you'd like me to help you with anything, whether it be getting a booking on the Sandparks website, or getting in contact with the guys at Bushscapes, please comment, and I will do my best to help you. So I think, that's all from me for today. Enjoy your youth day, and we'll catch you on the next one.